In the history of modern warfare, very few soldiers have earned a reputation that transcends every battlefield they have ever fought on. The Gurkhas are one of them. They have fought in every major conflict involving the British Army for over 200 years. World War I, World War II, the Falklands, Afghanistan. Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw once said, "If a man says he is not afraid of dying, he is either lying or he is a Gurkha." They come from the hills of Nepal. They carry a curved blade called the Kukri. And for over 2 centuries, they have been considered among the finest soldiers ever to take the field. This is their story, and it begins, like all the greatest stories in Nepali history, in the mountains. Did you know that the Gurkha selection process is considered one of the most physically demanding military recruitment tests in the world? Applicants must complete a 5-kilometer uphill race carrying a 25-kilogram doko, a traditional Nepali basket, on their back in under 48 minutes at altitude. Over 10,000 young men compete for approximately 200 places in the British Brigade of Gurkhas each year. The failure rate is over 98%. Those who pass are considered to be among the finest physical specimens of any army on earth. The word Gurkha comes from Gurkha, the hill kingdom of Prithvi Narayan Shah. But Gurkha is not an ethnic group. It is not a caste. The Gurkha soldiers come from several hill communities of Nepal, predominantly the Magar, Gurung, Rai, Limbu, and Sunwar peoples. What they share is not ancestry, but a tradition. These hill communities lived in terrain that demanded physical endurance, climbing at altitude, carrying heavy loads, moving fast through mountain landscape. They were warriors before the British found them. The British simply recognized what was already there. Did you know that Gurkha soldiers have won 13 Victoria Crosses, the highest military honor in the British system, as well as 26 military crosses and 3 Distinguished Service Orders in World War II alone? In total, across all conflicts, Gurkha soldiers have been awarded over 2,000 gallantry medals by the British military. No other Allied force of equivalent size has a comparable record of individual acts of documented bravery. In 1814, the British East India Company went to war with Nepal. They expected a short campaign. It was not. The Gurkha soldiers defending their mountain terrain proved almost impossible to dislodge. British officers found themselves facing a quality of soldier they had not encountered before. The Gurkhas did not break. They fought with a discipline and ferocity that astonished an army that thought it had seen everything. The war ended in 1816 with the Sugauli Treaty, which Nepal signed as a sovereign nation. The enemy became the ally, and the alliance has lasted for over 200 years. Did you know that the Gurkhas are the only soldiers in the world to serve simultaneously in the armies of 2 different sovereign nations, Britain and India, under formal treaty arrangements? The tripartite agreement between Nepal, Britain, and India allows Gurkha soldiers to serve in both armies while remaining Nepali citizens. This arrangement has no parallel anywhere in the world. In World War I, over 200,000 Gurkhas served with the British forces. In World War II, over 250,000 served across multiple theaters. In the jungles of Burma, fighting the Japanese in brutal close-quarter combat, the Gurkhas earned a reputation that became legendary. The Gurkhas won 13 Victoria Crosses in World War II alone. Perhaps the most remarkable was Rifleman Lakhiman Gurung, who in 1945 in Burma held a position alone against 200 Japanese soldiers. 3 grenades were thrown into his trench. He threw back 2. The third exploded in his hand, destroying it completely. With one hand in agony, he continued to fight for 4 hours until relief arrived. He was from a hill village in Nepal. He was 27 years old. And he is one of dozens of Gurkhas whose personal courage redefined what the word bravery means. Did you know that during the Falklands War of 1982, Argentine forces surrendered entire positions the moment they learned that Gurkhas were advancing toward them? The reputation of the Gurkha soldiers, built over 170 years of warfare, was so well established that their mere presence was considered a tactical factor. British commanders used the knowledge of Gurkha deployment as a psychological weapon. The Kukri, the curved blade that has become the symbol of everything these soldiers represent. The Kukri is not a ceremonial weapon. It is a working tool used every day in the villages of Nepal. Every hill family has one. Children grow up handling it. By the time a young man arrives for Gurkha selection, he has been comfortable with the Kukri for his entire life. There is a saying that once drawn, the Kukri must draw blood before it can be returned to its scabbard. As a metaphor for the Gurkha soldier's commitment, once committed, there is no withdrawal. It is perfect. It is not just a weapon, it is a connection to home. Did you know that Gurkha soldiers are required to carry their kukri at all times when in uniform? And that in Afghanistan, Gurkha soldiers use their kukris in close combat in the 21st century. The oldest weapon in the British Army's arsenal is still being carried into battle by the soldiers from the hills of Nepal. Today, Gurkhas continue to serve in the British Army, the Indian Army, and the armed forces of Singapore and Brunei. For every place available in the British Brigade of Gurkhas, over 10,000 young men apply. For the families of Nepal, a son selected for Gurkha service is a moment of tremendous pride. It means carrying on a tradition that stretches back 2 centuries. Every Gurkha soldier who has ever stood on a battlefield far from Nepal has done so carrying the mountains in their character. The resilience that comes from growing up at altitude. The endurance that comes from a childhood in the hills. They did not become extraordinary on the battlefields of Europe or Burma or the Falklands. They arrived extraordinary from Nepal, from the hills, from a tradition that was already ancient when the British first encountered it. This is who they are. This is where they come from. And this, as the world has learned across 2 centuries of war, is what it means to be a Gurkha. Subscribe for a new chapter every Thursday.